Hi. In the Recovering Biblical Manhood and Womanhood, Chapter 2 is also an overview chapter. In this one, some of the concerns are answered or addressed by both of the editors, John Piper and Wayne Grudem. So they have question and then response. So I wanted to share some of them as good food for thought. The first question is on page 60. The first question they address is, why do you regard the issue of male and female roles as so important? This is the response. We are concerned not merely with the behavioral roles of men and women, but also with the underlying nature of manhood and womanhood themselves. Biblical truth and clarity in this matter are important because error and confusion over sexual identity leads to, and they have 4 points here. 1. Marriage patterns that do not portray the relationship between Christ and the church. 2. Parenting practice that do not train boys to be masculine or girls to be feminine. 3. Homosexual tendencies and increasing attempts to justify homosexual alliances. See question number 41, which we will do afterwards. And 4, patterns of unbiblical female leadership in the church that reflect and promote the confusion over the true meaning of manhood and womanhood. They closed off with saying, we believe that what is at stake in human sexuality is the very fabric of life, as God wills it to be, for the holiness of His people and for their saving mission to the world. So I would say, looking at the current state of society, these concerns were legitimate concerns. They seem to have been confirmed that this is the result. I'm going to now go to the thing they pointed to for the third point, homosexual tendencies and increasing attempts to justify homosexual alliances. So I'm going to go to page 82 where they have question number 41. Which question is, why do you bring up homosexuality when discussing male and female role distinctions in the home and the church, as in question 1? Most evangelical feminists are just as opposed as you are to the practice of homosexuality. So this is their response, or at least part of it. We bring up homosexuality because we believe that the feminist minimization of sexual role differentiation contributes to the confusion of sexual identity, that especially in second and third generations give rise to more homosexuality in society. Some evangelicals who once disapproved of homosexuality have been carried by their feminist arguments into approving of faithful homosexual alliances. For example, Gerald Sheppard, a professor of Old Testament literature at Emmanuel College in the University of Toronto, was nurtured in a conservative evangelical tradition and attended an evangelical seminary. In recent years, he has argued for the ordination of women to the pastorate. He has also moved on to say, On a much more controversial matter, the presence of gay and lesbian Christians and ministers in our churches is for me a similar issue. I believe that the gospel, as evangelicals concerned recognizes, should lead us to at least to an affirmation of gay and lesbian partnerships ruled by a biblical ethic analogous to that offered for heterosexual relationships. Then they quote another example, Karen J Torjensen, who argues that removing hierarchy in sexual relations will probably mean that the primacy of heterosexual marriage will have to go. This is the quote from her. It would appear that, in Paul, issues of sexuality are theologically related to hierarchy, and therefore the issues of biblical feminism and lesbianism are irrefutably intertwined. We need to grapple with the possibility that our conflicts over the appropriate use of human sexuality may rather be conflicts rooted in a need to legitimate the traditional social, I guess it should be legitimize, the traditional social structure which assigns men and women specific and unequal positions. Could it be that the continued affirmation of the primacy of heterosexual marriage is possibly also that the affirmation of the necessity for the sexes to remain in a hierarchically structured relationship? Sorry, some words I have difficulty with. Is the threat of the sanctity of marriage really a threat to hierarchy? Is that what makes same-sex relations so threatening, so frightening? So I would have to say, in looking at the two examples they present, that wasn't the full answer that they gave, but just looking at it, you can see that the concerns they had are being borne out with history. This book was originally published in 1991. So now, in 2023, I think we can see that those concerns were legitimate, that this is moving in the direction they said it would move, with a slackening of the biblical manhood and womanhood issue. I'm going to link to a video that I did, which was C.S. Lewis's book, The Screwtape Letters, which is a fictional work, but it hits on themes that we see in society. And this one was about the slackening of the way we think of marriage. So this one was called The Devil's Strategy. Convince us sex, romance, passion, being in love are essential to marriage. Thanks for listening.